Okay, good morning, everybody. Sham put a great question inside the self-storage communities school group yesterday. Um, and by the way, this, as you already know, surely by now, this group is completely free to everybody who has purchased the course. So by all means, get on in there, and it's a great community, brilliant community. It's on fire. Honestly, I'm a member of some communities, and even though we've only got 29 people in there at the minute, the amount of interactions is incredible, and we've got more interactions than groups with hundreds of people in, which is a beautiful thing, and I really, really like it. And we've got yeah. So if you've bought the course, get them in there, and we will sort you out for membership. And if you do want to know more about the community, there is another podcast today that we've talked about the full thing about the community. So again, yeah, beautiful. Right. So what I'm going to do is share my screen because we got a great question from Sham, who asked something to do with planning. So I'm going to read you his question. I'm going to read you my reply, and I'm going to read you Ewan disagreeing with me, and then I'm going to read you Claire, the financial advisor in there, her her response, which basically said that she agrees with Ewan. So I was like, what? Everyone disagree with me? But that's the power of a community. It doesn't matter who's right, who's wrong. It's about making sure we get the right answer. But in this occasion, I genuinely think there's two right answers because I'm not wrong. There's no way I'm wrong. Just so we're all absolutely sure. There's no way I'm wrong. Right, here we go. Let's share it. Share. Boom. Right. Here we go. Yes, we can see it here. Right. Sham. So, planning inquiry. Hello, everybody. I'm Sham. I'm an engineer turned into full-time property investor and now ventured into the world of self-storage. Sham is one of those people who bought my course very, very early on, and we've had a few interactions. Absolutely top man. I have a planning query. If someone can shed some light on it. To be honest, he did text me earlier before. Oh, yes, he's got my. That's how close me and Sham are. I'm sure he WhatsApp me. Was it WhatsApp? I'm sure he did. And I said, Cham, I have no idea. I'll get my planning guy to have a look at it, but this is a question that'll be great for the group. Right, I have a planning query. If someone could shed some light on it. When we apply for planning permission for a container self-storage site, does planning fee only depend on the size of the land, or does it take into account the number of containers as well? Thank you, Sham. I put, great question. I'm forwarding this on to my planning guy, and I'm also telling him to get his butt into the group because he said he's going to get in the group, and so far he hasn't. But he got back to me anyway. Here's his email. He got back to me below, pal. Does this help? Hi, Dean. Firstly, reason from the query from Sham, and this relates to your sites. This is for sites in England. Scotland have different rules, as I found out with Glasgow. We class the container units as temporary units, so we are not erecting any new buildings. So the number of units is not relevant. But opinion that bit. All we apply for is change of use of the land into Class B8 storage and distribution. You have to identify the area of the site, but the planning application fee is not based on the land area. It is a flat rate for change of use. In Scotland, it's based on the land area. Hope this helps. Cheers, Richard. Now, me and Richard have had conversations about this before because I'm sure that Rennie, the CEO of the Self Storage Association, by the way, Rennie, if you hear this and you want to come into the group, come on in, buddy. The water's warm. You are more than welcome, and I would love your input on this because I'm sure that you have done a training on this previously, where you have said some planning areas, some councils behave differently to others. And I know that me and Ewan also had a conversation about this a couple of years ago because Ewan is based in Devon, a very, very knowledgeable operator, incredibly knowledgeable. If you do get a chance, by the way, watch his walk and talks on LinkedIn. There is so much valuable content. I personally learned loads from Ewan, and I think he is great for the self-storage community. That's why we've got him inside the group. But his council have charged him a fee for each. I think his rates are based on his individual containers and planning fee individual containers, where we've never had that. We can only go through my experience, and Ewan can only go from his experience. This is why collectively as a community, it's fantastic because I can tell you about my 6 sites, because each of my 6 sites have got containers on, and not once have we had to pay per container. I don't know if it's because Richard, my planning guy, is exceptional at his job, or we've been very, very lucky because of the councils where we have been asking for container use and trying to get B8 use. I mean, I know what Richard's going to say. Richard is going to say, Dean, it's obvious because I'm fantastic at my job. Hold your horses there, Richard. We just don't know that. Right, this is what Ewan put, his reply. Cham, Dean, sorry, but I have to agree with your planning guy. Local councils will not view self-storage operations as businesses which intend to have containers on site for sorry, I'll read that again. Local councils will now view self-storage operators as business which intend to have containers on site for a long period of time and therefore not temporary. Right, just on that, 100%. I know that's what's happened to him, 100%. But that is not what we've seen ourselves as well. So this is why it's beautiful to get two different opinions, because local councils, we've just worked with a Glasgow council and another council, which I can't tell you about because we're in the process of getting their application. And they're both in different areas of the country. One's in Scotland and one's in the middle of the UK. And not one of them has, we've said that these aren't long term. We've argued it because long term, we've had this conversation, me and my planning guy, and it's the ability to move the container. It doesn't matter necessarily. I mean, this could be wrong, but we've tried to say that it doesn't matter if it's there long term or not. That's irrelevant. We don't even want to talk about that, but we want to have the ability to change it if we need to. Why? Because there's a break clause after 5 years. So we don't know if we're going to stay there. All we know is that we can guarantee that we'll have this site for 5 years and then we've got a break clause. If it's not good or there's another position or another area, then we can move it. So it's not long term. That's our argument. And so far, our argument has worked. I can only speak for my planner and my individual circumstances. I can't speak for Devon and around that area because I do know that is true, that they are finding it incredibly difficult or it's more costly because of how the council are viewing containers. And we have just been very, very lucky. So my point here is not every single council are 100% the same. Here we go. This is Ewan's continue. My planning guy tried to change a views for our fair site and it was squashed by the local council. They charged me per container. Oh, I do already know that. Ewan's told me previously, and I'm sure that Rennie has a couple of years ago done a training on this as well. Personally, I speak to the local council or get an opinion from your local architect in your area. Councils are strapped for cash at the minute and will try to make a few quid wherever they can. Boom. Absolutely perfect. What brilliant advice. Personally, I speak to the local council to get an opinion. Love it. That's 100% correct. That's 100% absolutely distilled perfectly there by Ewan, because we've seen one thing, Ewan's seen another, and so go and talk to him. Absolutely perfect. Yeah, I love it. Claire, the finance girl in there, she put at Ewan. I agree with this. I work with a transport company who wanted to put containers onto store cars, and Central Beds Council wouldn't allow them to be classed as temporary. Oh, interesting. So again, Claire's experience is the same as Ewan's, which is different to ours. This is why the power of a community is so good, and I loved it. So my comment was, I want us all to communicate and disagree, but as long as we all disagree respectfully, that's fine. As long as we get to the answer, that's all. All I want, all Ewan wants, all Claire wants, all Cham wants is to understand it better and get to the answer. And so that's why I put this reply at Ewan. This is brilliant. Well, it's not brilliant news, but it's brilliant that you've come on and disagreed. Thank you. This is the power of a community. We have actually spoken about it a year or so ago. I know that some councils are charging per container, but as of yet, we haven't been charged per container. Fingers crossed this doesn't happen for us. I'm sure Rennie mentioned this in the webinar, and he did say he expected all councils to charge per container in the future. But that was a couple of years ago, and as of yet, they haven't done for us. I put thank you for your input at Claire and at Ewan. And then Anthony Adams came up. Oh, there's some more, don't you worry. Anthony Adams, At Sham, I would highly recommend speaking to your local council and, if required, engage with a planning consultant that knows your local authority. As Dean indicates, it can vary from authority to authority, not ideal, but their law to themselves. Perfect. Sham then wrote back to all of us. Thank you guys for your input, comment, much appreciated. I will definitely check out the local planning. Yes, we got a resolution. He came on unsure, and I give one bit of advice. Or my planning guy did. Ewan has seen something different, so disagreed with my planning advice. But then he said, Ewan's advice, perfect. I would go and speak to your local planning. And then Anthony also said it. The only thing that how I would handle that differently is I would certainly try to ask for forgiveness, not permission. I wouldn't want them to highlight it, say to him, give him any ideas, say, excuse me, Mr. Councillor, would you charge for me per container or would you just let me do a job lot? And so I wouldn't try to hide it. I would certainly ask advice, but it's how you articulate that to your council, because you don't want them to think, wait a second, we can charge more money. And not only that, we can charge all the rest of the container sites more money. And so I wouldn't want to highlight that too much, but I'd certainly ask the question, say, look, what do we need to do for planning for B8 kind of thing? And start the ball rolling. At Ewan, at Sham, with regards to the site, are you looking at, does it have B1 or B8 planning approval, or does it fall in with a different classification? Interesting question. I don't know at the moment, but most likely B8. Ewan went on to say, if it's already B8, then you might find you could be okay. I'd probably go with the approach, rather beg for forgiveness and ask for permission. I haven't actually seen this. This was last night's Ewan's reply. So I haven't actually seen this. I've just said it. This is a risk there, but it has worked for me in the past, and I'm hoping it will work in our future sites. Perfect. There is always a risk. There's always a risk, but I've not fallen out, but I had a problem with the council because I didn't even ask for permission. On every site where we've got an indoor storage and an outdoor storage, I didn't ask for permission. I just put up my containers outside, and every single council has been fine, apart from Hull Council. They're the only people who've pulled me up on it, and they wasn't happy at all. They demanded a meeting because the locals had a petition against me. But we had a conversation with them, and it was fantastic. It was outstanding. We really got on board on with them really well. And I said, look, I'm really, really sorry. I didn't know what I was doing. Didn't know we had to do this, and just played dumb. Luckily, I can play dumb better than any one of you guys. I'm just a natural at it. Honestly, people believe it. I mean, maybe it is because, but yeah, 100%. I would beg for forgiveness rather than ask for permission. Love it. Jerry Alexander also put in his comment in. Jerry Alexander, by the way, commercial property expert, got his own podcast called Commercial Property Investor or Investors. A brilliant podcast, really, really good. He recently did a podcast about refinancing, and he really got deep down and personal with it. It was fantastic. Great podcast, because everybody goes through cash flow positions. It seems like in this self-storage industry or in the commercial property, where I know that I can't speak for anybody else, but I'm begging from Peter and giving to Paul all the time. And it's just an act that goes around all the time. My wife just texts me smiling and goes, oh my God, I feel so sorry for you. I'm like, so it's just another run of just what happens. We had a big bill to pay and we paid it. And now you're like thinking, oh my God, I need to start some courses. But I do 2 podcasts today instead of 1. And so, yeah, it's just, and don't get me wrong, who did I speak to? Somebody, yes, I know who it was, but I haven't got permission to share a story. But he was talking to me at the Fidessa conference, and he said, Dean, we was in exactly the same position where every single month we're thinking cash flow is an issue. And then all of a sudden, because we got more sites, it just started to accumulate. And we just don't know what to do with it. Good job I definitely didn't tell his name, because obviously that's personal stuff. Yeah, it was incredible. And they've got many more sites than me. And I was like, thank you. He said, we've been through your position and you will get out of it. And once you get out of it, you won't know what to do with it. I'm like, I'm sure my wife will know what to do with it. Right. Jerry Alexander came and said, just to add my 2 penny worth, I agree with both. Each council is taking a different approach. We are based in Scotland. Love it. Ewan, this is 16 hours ago. Again, I just remembered that my architect sent me this a few months ago regarding planning for shipping containers. This is a case law case law now and is similar situation to the recent rates reviews for self-storage containers. Let's have a look at this. If you're watching it, if you're not watching it, sorry, you can't see it. I'll actually see. Right. Do you know what? I'm going to send Ewan. Thank you so much for this. I am going to send it to my VA, and if you could put a link to this in the podcast notes, Jojo, and also the LinkedIn and also the YouTube where we repurpose all this content, that'll be fantastic. And don't forget, buy my course. It's great, and you get free access to this. Or don't buy my course and pay $279 to get access to this and join the fun on a Wednesday night talking planning. What more do you want? Even when Champions League's on, eh? You don't want anything more, do you? All right, my friends, I'm going to stop the sharing and then I am going to close this out. Thank you so much for being a part of this, guys. Thank you so much for listening to me. This is why I'm going to start the mastermind, because I really enjoyed interacting with everybody on here, on this platform, school. And it just makes me realize that I want to help people on a more in-depth level. I want to see people's books, the figures, and like I say, so I was just looking at the light shining in them. Once I can see certain metrics, I know if the self-storage is doing well, bad, or where it can improve. And I know I can do that relatively quickly with somebody once I see people's monthly figures. So the idea is that we'll have a meetup virtually every single month. And then once a quarter, we'll have an in-person meetup where we dive a little bit deeper with the quarter results, and then we strategize what you want to do in the next quarter and how we're going to get there. That's giving a little bit more than for the masterminds that I'm involved in, because there is no monthly meetup. But a monthly meetup doesn't have to be massive. It just can be, right, here's the results that we've got. What do you think of these, Dean? Where can we improve? What should we be focused on? Right. I'll do my homework already. Right. Perfect. Your site is great. But X, Y, and Z. And this is where we can improve. And it keeps you accountable. The accountability is the biggest thing about Mastermind. The preparation for the work is the most important thing. And we'll have nobody within a 5-mile radius, and we'll sign a legally binding document that states that people can't open up close to people, because if somebody's crushing it, I don't want an ass coming into the mastermind and think, I'm going to open up near them. No, legally binding document. Even if you leave the mastermind, you will be legally contracted for 2 years not to open up around that person, or 3 years, or whatever it is. We'll make it safe for everybody to share that information. All right, my friends, I love you. I appreciate you. And I'll be seeing you tomorrow. And I'm going to sell you the course again. That stuff I don't want to do, but I'm going to do it because cash flow's tight. No. And also, cash flow. When I say cash flow's tight, we've got over 100 bags to our disposal. But I say 100 bags, that sounds absolutely disgusting. Sorry. But that's not a lot when you consider how much outlays we've got. So I don't like to go below the 100, because that you're skating on thin ice, especially when how much out. And during the winter, occupancy could go down, so therefore revenue goes down, and so you've got to be a little bit careful. So especially around the February time, because there's only 28 days in February, and although it doesn't sound much, 2 or 3 days less than other months, it impacts cash flow. If you're taking $4,000 a day, then all of a sudden you're talking 12 grand, taking less than other previous months. And if the occupancy has gone down in January as well, that impacts cash flow. So all of a sudden you could be 25 grand down in that month, and 25 grand down, it's a lot of money. So yeah, cash flow is always something we keep a close eye on. Because if we're expanding all the time, we're opening up 15 sites by the end of next year, then we've got to make sure cash flow is on point. So buy my course to help the cash flow. So I'm hoping to sell 50 grand worth of courses. That'll do. That'll be all right for the coppers. But I know I'm talking about money, but I'm not doing it. Well, I'm doing it obviously for money, because I want to make money as well. But I'm also doing it because I know that it can change your life. And my friends and family are getting into self-storage. Why? Because it's so fucking great at the minute. All right, my friends, stop talking about it. I love you. I appreciate you, and I'll see you tomorrow. Ta-ra.